Hey guys, it's Penny. Today I'll be teaching you guys what goes through my art process and the various steps I take, including sketching, coloring, and rendering. Okay, let's go get started. I'm gonna go first pull out my reference, which I took from the Columbina trailer on YouTube because her trailer is just so pretty and I love her characters so much. The first few clips will be in real time to show you my accurate art process. I'll be speeding it up along the way to save you guys time. Alright, let's get started. Now, normally in my art, I like using the color red for my sketches, and I'll be using a flat water brush flat brush that I found from this YouTuber, which I'll be linking in the description. Alright, let's get started. Nope, that was not right. Now let's get started. So generally first I like establishing the silhouette, like the head and the arms and the legs, and getting the general curve of the art. Normally I use a lot of liquify and transform here just to make sure it's right, and then a lot of more refining strokes. And yeah, and it's pretty simple. And oh, screen distance. Yeah, you'll be seeing that a lot of times because my shrimp back keeps leaning in closer and closer and closer and closer to the iPad until my eyesight is near gone. So yeah, you'll be seeing that a lot of times. Anyways, here's footage of me struggling to draw the hands correctly, and although it might look like I got it down really quickly, no, I did not. This is sped up like I think 20 to 30 times, so do not expect me to draw this fast. I only sped it up so we can save everyone's time like this. And yeah, I'll be first I create the large shapes and then refine slowly down to each detail, such as the clothing and the different various... I'll be refining down the clothing and the various details in her design. And yeah, a lot of copious transform, a lot of liquify, as I carefully look at the reference and compare it with my art. Make sure to keep your strokes light and loose in order to get a more softer and more free-like feel, because I really like doing that in my art. And when I draw hair, I like creating these various shapes that keep it gentle and soft. And screen distance, again. You're gonna see this so many times. Let me actually just put a counter in the corner, and we can count how many times this has happened. Yeah, here's me fixing the hands for the 6,000th time. Nothing's ever gonna prepare me for how hard those are to draw. There's no comment. Nothing's happening. I'm gonna speed this up faster, bro. Nothing's happening still. I'm just drawing hands. I'm still drawing hands. I'm still drawing hands. I'm still drawing hands. Oh, I'm fixing the hair for once. And we're back at hands. Oh, face? Yes. And I like making everything on the same layer and just having them all together, and then adding various outlines and silhouette definers, so then my sketches are more, I don't know, cleaned up in a way? Okay, anyways, now I'll be coloring the line art black and then selecting the silhouette and then starting to create the values in the art. I like normally picking like a lighter gray when I'm creating the silhouette, but then afterward I'll change it to a darker gray for more contrast. Okay, so now I'll be establishing the values in the art by creating a darker background and then lighting up the character, so then there's a contrast between the character and the background. Okay, so for this, create a layer on top and then start carving out your lights using an eraser, and then bring in your brush and start creating the midtones between the highlights and the shadows. Here is kind of like your first rendering, but it's all in grayscale, so then you can make sure the fact that you have your values. If you're unsure about how values work, you can always put your reference in grayscale and comparing it with your art. It definitely helps visualize how the values are supposed to look like and makes this part a lot easier to do. In this step, I like cleaning up like the various like shadows, because when you first put it down, it's more like blobs, and then how clothing and like hair folds, basically that's what I'm defining here, and making sure it lines up with all the line work that I've done earlier. Something you can study to help improve this is like the different planes you want to make in your art. I think that definitely helps create a more contrasting and more generally cohesive shape. But certain people, definitely not myself, do not have the patience to study that, so kind of just BS here and hope it works. But if you're generally interested in actually doing it correctly, I definitely recommend actually studying it. There's nothing to say here too. I'm just making shadows. I'm speeding this up until it's 12 minutes, I'm telling you. Okay, so now I'll be creating the like scenery and then like establishing different foregrounds and backgrounds to make sure there's a more scenic feel. Okay, after that, I'll copy and paste the canvas and then start curving it to create larger contrast. Like, curves are like my best friend because I use them in everywhere and everything. But hey, if it helps, it helps. Okay, now we'll be re-refining it, and when I refine it, I normally clean up the sketch lines and make sure there is contrast between all the parts before I add the color. Normally, this involves a lot of hair strands because normally I really like hair strands. I don't know, they just add something to the hair. But yeah, and then here I'll probably redraw a lot of line art so then it's cleaner. Yeah, you can see me painting over the sketch lines so then it doesn't look so messy and like someone who had no clue what they were doing. I spend a lot of time on the hair because I generally consider it more better focal point than anything because it's attached to the head and the head's normally the first thing you look at, so that's a lot more detailed than anything. The clothing, I think I just do rough shapes and just hope it works because most of the time the viewer's attention is just not drawn to there. Normally during this step, I like creating a smoother blend between the midtones, the highlights, and the shadows because I feel like various shapes, they have more depth than just a single smear, and that's what I'll be refining here. This step also ensures there's good contrast so then when the colors are added, it doesn't look muddy and formless. I think I've checked if I was screen recording multiple times because I was so paranoid, thinking the fact that none of the footage was getting recorded. I mean, you can tell this is clearly my first time because I have no experience whatsoever and I just hope this is not too sucky to watch. But let me know what you think. Alright, here's the before and after. I think you can clearly see the fact that some of the sketch lines got removed and the various impurities of the art. But yeah. Okay, let's start coloring. For this step, I like using an airbrush because it creates a more softer feel and really blends in the colors together, because I like creating that softer feel and that more cohesiveness. Create a layer over your values layer and then set the layer to overlay or soft light. You can see me playing around with hard light, but I feel like it always looks really weird. And yeah, start coloring your art with the airbrush. Alright, after you're done with the colors, I like creating a gradient map so then all my colors become more cohesive and more matching. So I'll be duplicating the canvas and then adding the gradient map and then set it to soft light or hard light or overlay, all of them work. And then lower the opacity and then voila! I like picking colors around this corner, so around the lighter colors normally has more saturation, but as the more we get to the bottom, the less saturation it has. Oh yeah, if you're gonna be using white, I recommend putting 2 different layers for like one for the shadows and one for the highlights, because you don't really want gray like that in your art because it looks kind of muddy-ish. But if that's what you like, go ahead, go for it. Yeah, I'll be doing a few touch-ups here and adding a few like warmish colors so it doesn't look so dull, and adjusting the various parts that I feel like look off. Oh, and here's the step I normally add in the patterns of the design, because later it's really painful to do while you're rendering because mainly the shapes and forms are already there, but if you add it now, most of the shading should still be there. In this step, I'll be adding more texture in the background so then it fills up the space a little better, and then I'll be playing around with curves and color adjustments. And then we can begin rendering! Okay, so when I render, I normally like adding a subscattering color. Like, even though I know logically, yeah, it might not be there, but work with me, okay? So I like leaning more to colors like red, orange, or pink even, if you consider that a different color. And then applying it along the edges between where the shadows and highlights meet. And then where the shadows are, I like adding a grayish, bluish, purplish color, so then there's more like layers in the art. And then I like cleaning up the different parts and then making sure there's shapes and then filling up any space that looks empty. I think that's like the general consensus I have on rendering. But besides that, I just add a few colors here and hope it works. Indicate the different sections and then make sure the art just has more contrast between shapes and different values. And yeah, you can see me adding a lot of hair strands here. I don't know, it's kind of part of my style. I mean, I abuse the crap out of them in my other arts if you look here, here, and here. But, you know, I've been trying to like not do it as much because it makes the rendering, it gives less value to the rendering and it's more just made out of hair strands. So yeah, I've been trying to improve that, but I mean, I still abuse the crap out of them in this one, but hey, improvement's improvement. Yeah, but normally I like creating outlines for parts that just don't look as clean and then have like less differentiation between different planes. Like, if you look at the front hair and the skin color, like, since they're both like really bright, I like adding the outline between them so you can clearly see the difference. Alright, here's like 40 minutes of me struggling to draw wings because, well, I don't know what I'm doing and I think I made it worse. Like, most of the rendering time I spent, I think is on here. Like, look at all the colors I'm adding. It's like the whole rainbow got added in there. Okay, now here, I finally looked up a tutorial on how to draw wings. I'll be linking it here in the description because, oh my god, it works so well. But yeah, I found this wing on Xiaohongshu after struggling for 40 minutes. And yeah, it worked like magic. Oh, I greatly recommend adding some of the skin color into various other details since the skin is kind of like the base of everything, so then adding a bit of that creates a more cohesive and more, I don't know, it just looks better. Like, doesn't it look warmer and more gentle? Yeah, I added a lot of it into the wings, the clothing, and especially the hair. Like, the section between the shadows, I definitely add the most of the skin color on there. Okay, here I'm just refining further shapes and just defining the different sections. That about sums it up. Yeah. I'm mainly just defining different shapes and values, and then trying to add more depth to the whole drawing. Oh yeah, something about eyes, I always like adding a bit of gray on one end, and then a darker color, and then the lashes, because I don't know, it just creates a more textured looking. Okay, here I'm going to be duplicating a layer and then grabbing out my textured brush. Like, this 6B pencil is like slightly modified. I think I found the tutorial by Rishi Draws. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, anyway. I basically just thicken the brush and then I just apply it throughout my art where I feel like it could have more texture and more depth. Like normally this is the hair and a bit of the eyes, but yeah. Anyways, I'll be duplicating that and yeah, we're about done. I'm just gonna be color correcting through gradient map again, and then curving and then just making sure the environment matches the character in rendering texture. And then I'll be using this rake brush that I also found by the same artist, which I'll be linking in the description, to add different like texture and depth in my art. Oh my god, my resin's fully capped? No way. Okay, wait 1 second. Okay, back to drawing. Anyways, I'm just gonna be adding final touches here, like creating the texture around the environment, and then my favorite step, adding glow, and then dots. Okay, I don't know when I thought this was a good idea, but whenever I did, it was genius because look at how much better it looks. Like, look at that. Okay, so final steps, I'm going to be blurring, color correcting, and ta-da! We're done!